going to be a high energy Substack. Just kidding. We're going to talk about my high energy usage. We're going to talk about Opower, the classic, the seminal Opower study. And if you already know about the study, I do think you'll learn something in this. So stick with me. And we're going to pontificate about a new approach to behavior change. It seems like they are trying. So first, let's dive into the classic study. And shout out to Dina Rosen, who led their design team for a very long time and was also a behavioral scientist at Irrational Labs for a few years as well. This is the classic study where basically they are comparing my energy usage to similar people like me, my neighbors. And by doing this, and they tested it across 17 different field experiments, 600,000 homes, they showed a 2% decrease in energy usage. This works more than telling me something potentially more rational, which is, hey, Kristen, you could save money, or hey, Kristen, you care about the environment, turn off your lights. This idea of benchmarking me against other people, telling me what other people are doing is more effective than these other rational ways of looking at the world. So good job, Opower, small effect, but big impact. So what we're going to talk about today is basically how they're doing it. So you could look at this 472 and say, hey, that is actually like a big number. You have a really long way to go, Kristen, to 130 units. And that's the type of small detail as a behavioral scientist we look at, saying, are you basically benchmarking people too high and their goal is too far away and they're not going to be able to reach it? And in fact, that is a good line of thinking because that does happen in many cases. Now, it doesn't happen in Opower, but in many cases, if you tell people about a reference group that's too far ahead of them, and this was done in a retirement savings paper where people were benchmarked at likely a too high of a match rate, of a savings rate, and then folks who weren't saving or saving a little actually kind of stopped saving or saved less in the social proof condition. So you can actually benchmark people too high because normally we have a goal gradient motivation, which is basically when you're closer to the goal, you're going to run faster. And in fact, Jonah Berger in his book Invisible Influence has a nice summary of what happens at halftime. So normally at halftime, if you're down by a few points, you are going to lose. No surprises there. But if you're down by 1 point, then it is actually more likely that you will win, with the idea that basically you're close, right? You're close to the goal. You can kind of see it. And so you may try a little bit harder. Now, if you're really far behind, that effect doesn't work. So here you should be thinking like, 472, that's probably too high. But in reality, what Opower has shown or says is that, nope, actually in this case, it's likely that I just have so many easy things to do. I could turn off the lights. I could buy appliances. I could get new lights. So many things for me to do. Imagine that I was at 135. Like, what else am I going to do? I would really probably need to install a heat pump. I would need to take a bigger action in order to change my behavior. And so this is a really nice way of thinking where it's not just that this works or doesn't work. It's really about the context of the actual behavior that needs to be changed and how easy or hard is that. So now we're going to flip over to what they're currently doing, which I don't know if this works. If anyone has seen a study on this, let us know. But I'm hoping that it'll come out soon. It's basically comparing me to prior me. Unfortunately, this was recent. So I have used 95%. It's winter, it's starting to be winter. And they're telling me against me. They're trying to give me some insights. I'm actually surprised at the lack of kind of more focus on action. So if you do click this, like, see more ways to save, they take you to a lot of things that actually, save $25 this summer. I would think if I were them, I would probably make this a little bit clearer, maybe use curiosity. When I'm looking through this list, I was like, set my computer to sleep mode and I save $130. So there's, in general, we want to kind of surprise people with some of these things because that may stick in their memory more, or it's something that they didn't already know. And so you may be able to kind of get more into their behavior change if they're paying attention. And so going back to this, very interesting to see if it will work. Again, this type of kind of, are we anchored too high? It could be that I actually have a long way to go here. Unclear. So the jury is still out on this one. I will follow up and end this with an update that happened to the paper fairly recently, basically saying that actually when you scale the Opower, when you scale this to millions of people, and I'm kind of pontificating that it could be why they're using this new intervention, Me, that actually the results become much less impressive. That 2% number actually goes way down. And they're saying, hey, look, when it was first launched, these 600,000 homes, which is a really good sample, we're a bit higher income in locations that probably cared a little bit more about the environment. And when we're scaling to millions, that goes away, and it's lower income folks who may not care as much, or be in regions that kind of classically don't care as much. And so this doesn't mean that the intervention doesn't work. It just means that context matters. And these are heterogeneous effects by which context matters, who you're going out to matters. And so these are the types of questions when we say, as behavioral scientists, we never say it works or doesn't work. It works in different contexts. And I think Opower has this kind of really nice, there's so many learnings in here, right? Even just from the, how do you do the behavior change with one-time behavior change versus daily behavior change? How would you do social proof? What reference group do you use? There's just so much good stuff baked in here. And so I'm excited to see if this will be released as a new finding. We will have to wait and see.